technology consultant. And today we have 5 awesome speech language pathologists here to talk about AAC apps for the iPad. And each presenter is going to have a couple of minutes to talk, and we're hoping to have time at the end for questions. I'm not sure if Naomi can do this or I can do this, so we'll be monitoring the chat window. And if there's questions that we have difficulty with, we'll either hold them to the end or we'll try to type your answers for you. And I just want to introduce the speech therapist, and then we will get started. But before I do, I just wanted to briefly just talk about some, whoops. All right. Oops, having a problem here. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so to get started, we're going to have we have Kathy Fredericks, we have Barbara Seltzer, Joanne Hinchman Buffet, Corey Ward, and Christine Baudin. And I'm going to let each person introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about themselves, and then they can start talking about the app. And any questions, let us know through the chat window. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Kathy.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for inviting me to be here. This is really very exciting because one size does not fit all. First and foremost, okay, there is not one app that fits everything and everybody. So we're here to demonstrate or talk about some of the different apps that do exist that you could consider if you were considering doing an AAC evaluation, right? So I'm Catherine Fredericks. I've had, okay, I'm not going to say how many years, over 40 years, but over 40 years experience with significantly communication impaired students, right? I'm a speech language pathologist. I'm also certified as an autism specialist, and I'm also an assistive technology professional, certified as that also. I currently work for the Wayne Board of Ed for well over 20 years, and I also have a private practice. All right. That's me. Oh, I also serve on the board for the New Jersey Coalition for the Advancement of Assistive and Rehabilitation Technology. That's just an aside. I'm going to be talking about the LAMP Words for Life application. Okay. The features that I like, we have this little outline we're following, right? So the favorite features about this, it follows a LAMP approach, which if you haven't heard that before is language acquisition through motor planning. It means that there's a consistent and unique motor plan for every single word. Every word is only gotten to by one motor movement or it's only in one place. You will never find it somewhere else, which makes it easier to understand. It's a single grid size. You don't have a choice of grids. It's 84 icons. That's it. It's configured for frequency of use. So on the main page, it is dynamic display, right? It goes from one place to another. But the frequency of use, so a word that's used frequently, such as is, you only have one hit. If you have a word that's used less frequency, say yes, it's a 2-hit. The most you will ever need to touch are 3 hits for a word like, say, put. You would do 1, 2, 3. Now that 1, 2, 3 movement is unique. There is only one word that has that unique motor planning. All right. Let's see. The reason I like the unique motor planning and that you can only find words in one place is it minimizes the cognitive load of the person who's using it. Now, I use this a lot with my high incidence learners, okay? Students with autism, students with severe apraxia, all right? It's an easy way to develop automaticity. And automaticity is really, really important, especially for students that don't read yet. Maybe they don't identify a picture yet, but they can learn a motor plan. And I have 3-year-olds who are able to use this. And everybody goes, oh, no, but that's so complicated. Yeah, no, not for them. For grown-ups, maybe sometimes because we all cheat because we're reading the little words on top of pictures. But our children don't. Many of my children don't. So it really helps for that automaticity. They learn where it is. If you search for a word on the LAMP Words for Life, you're only going to find one way to get to it. That's it. Okay? You don't have to understand categories. You don't have to identify pictures. It really works well with very youngest children. Um, but that being said, it works well for any age, at any level. Okay? The grammar is very easy to access because it has that too has a consistent motor plan. Let's see. It doesn't matter if you're a beginning user or an advanced user. It's not going to change. One of the downfalls of other apps that I find is people keep adding information. And as a student, because I work in a school system, moves from preschool through high school, every teacher, every paraprofessional, they've all added things. Now things are in 5, 6 different places. How are you supposed to develop automaticity? And automaticity, if you think about it, is what we use when we type on a QWERTY keyboard. You have a computer keyboard. If I asked you to type your name, you'd be able to do that very quickly. If I swapped a few of those keys around, first of all, you wouldn't like me anymore, but second of all, it would take you longer. It would be harder. You would have to be looking. You would have to recognize the letter in order to find it. Now, the LAMP approach is when you do a motor pattern, you're also getting the auditory feedback. So it's not necessarily that you're recognizing the picture. You're memorizing the movements just like you would on a keyboard. Okay. There's also a literacy phonics component to LAMP Words for Life, which I happen to like, and I use that with many of my students. There is a particular page that is specifically for phonics. So if you push the letter B, it says B. You push A, it says A. You push the letter T, it says T. And then you touch the message window and it says BAT. This is a great feature for beginning spellers, right? Yes and no on several of the applications. Yes and no is on a different page. So if you want to answer a simple yes, no question, you have to navigate someplace else. You really don't have to do that on LAMP Words for Life. Yes is right on the main page, no is on the main page. And to me, those are very common words that, I use a lot in therapy sessions, even if it's to affirm what the child is doing. Okay. My least favorite feature of this app is it never sounds as loud as the other applications. So some of my children actually have cases with amplified output. I haven't figured out why, it just is. Other than that, I really don't have something I dislike about this application because it truly works very well for any student that I've ever given it to. Um, it might not be good if you have a Gestalt learner. If you have a student a student with autism who's really more of a Gestalt, and that's a whole different conversation, but we do have them. This might not be the app of your choice. You wouldn't want to do that. There are no free versions of this app. The people who designed it feel very strongly that it's a robust communication app, and the free versions are generally limited, so you do not get a clear picture of what you can do with this LAMP approach if they were to provide that. The cost of this app is significant. It's $299, okay, which is a lot for an app. However, in April and in October, you have AAC Awareness Month and you have Autism Awareness Month. And not only this app, but many applications that you might be thinking of generally go half price. So in those 2 months, you would be able to purchase this particular app for $150 or $149. Big difference. Still pretty pricey. But to me, well worth the cost. This app, like any other app, I have students who are unable to write. They are able to create, we have something called journals in the morning. The kids all write in their journal what they did. It gives them writing ability. Instead of having the child dictate or say what's on, or create it and then have the paraprofessional or somebody else transcribe, we use an email feature in our school. And we use this for whatever app our child is using. We email, the child constructs the sentences that they want to talk about, which they can do without reading on their app, regardless of which app you're using. They email it to the teacher prints it out, pastes it in their journal, and now they have independently created written production, which is an awesome feature for many of the applications and something that I hope people are going to be using more and more in terms of written production.
Kathy?
Yes, and that's about it.
Oh, I was going to say 1 minute, but
No, that is everything that I wanted to share, other
okay.
than the fact that, oh, if you wanted to learn more about the LAMP application and the whole concept of LAMP, because language acquisition through motor planning is an approach, not necessarily an app, you can go to aacandautism.com, and there's all kinds of information there. So if anybody is interested further in finding out about the LAMP approach or the LAMP apps, and it's not just on the iPad, there are other devices that use the LAMP approach, the Unity program, and we're not going to talk about that because we're just doing apps today. So aacandautism.com, and thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kathy. And I think we'll wait till the end for questions. I've been monitoring the chat a little bit. So that was great. Thanks very much for that introduction to LAMP. And next, I'd like to move on to Joanne Hinchman-Jaffe, who's going to tell us about Go Talk Now. Yes, Go Talk Now, right?
I
Yes.
thought Touch Chat.
Touch Chat, sorry. Touch Chat. Yes, I'm looking at the wrong list. Touch Chat with word
I could
power.
actually talk about it, but I prepared some comment. Okay, so I have been serving as a speech language pathologist for 47 years. I'll give you the amount. I actually, those started when I was 10. So, that's why I still, anyway, I am certified in prompt. I taught classes for the Prompt Institute for approximately 5 years. And I worked in the Wayne Public Schools where I met Kathy for 30 years and retired in 2005. My private practice is called Miracles in Communication. It is definitely winding down. And I think it's crucial to have an AAC, a comprehensive AAC evaluation before actually choosing the app. And I have the advantage of more in the past, maybe 10 years, working as a team with Adam. So he comes in as the assistive technology specialist, and he focuses on, learning to read, all of the academic type, very important things for communication. And I focus on the AAC app. We are able to see each other, another set of eyes, I'm sure you all would agree, would be helpful, especially when you're evaluating a very complex child. And we do get very complex children. So there's so many apps. The one I chose is the one that I actually try to aim for when I do an augmentative communication eval, just to see if they can do it. And it's the Touch Chat HD with word power. It has a Fitzgerald key, so the verbs are green, the pronouns and names are yellow, and so I think the color coding helps them get along. What I like the most about it is the predictability. So I almost start out all the time, as not with every child, but with a child I think that might fit, by having them fill in sentences. So I help them. If they can push it on their own, they do. If I have to just hold like a little hand underneath to show them, it would be I always use I like instead of I want, because I'm really trying to find out the truth. What do they like? Not, and I really try to steer away from using an augmentative communication as a choice board, because you can make that with anything. But so one word is kind of not enough. We all speak in sentences. And if a child is feeling like, I want to be part of this communication, when they're feeling it's their voice, one word just isn't enough. So we start with I like, and then the next page is to go. There's all different choices: to eat, to go, to listen to. And so I usually start with I like to eat, because they're all most of them are very interested in food. And the page changes to all the different foods. And they usually just end up filling it in. And the parents, whoever's watching, says, yes, that is their favorite food. So then we kind of know I like to go, and it changes to places. So there's less selections to be made. And so when I start, and in almost every report, these are the important things of the communication would be as quick and easy as possible. The AAC app would provide opportunities to use language for a variety of purposes. And that's why I like the sentence, because it's not just to tell what you need, but it's to comment, to describe, to inform, to affirm, to negate, to tell about what happened, which to me, that school bus and what happened on the school bus can affect the child's mood for the rest of the day. So, the most important, what happened, what they want, what they need, what they feel, and almost all the time when they have an app, I always check in with the feelings in the beginning. It's almost like a meditation app. How you feeling today? Anyway, and that the app would be individualized, easy. So the Touch Chat comes with so many vocabulary sets, so it can grow with them. So even for the most basic, there's just 4 choices, but it still does the same thing. It moves to, if you say I want, it's going to move to things they want. If you say I need, it might move to something like a break, to go to the bathroom. And it's already programmed in, so it's pretty easy if you choose the right amount of vocabulary. And I usually start with maybe 20. If you choose the right vocabulary, it will grow with you, and the location of the items will be in a sentence format, with the subject, the verb, and then the object. So one speech therapist I was just speaking with yesterday said for her child, she liked it because then the sentence on the top is only written. You could choose to, and so if a child is learning to read or is in tune to that, as many autistic children are, that will not only produce the sentence, but on the message bar, but it will also just be writing, so they can read along as it's speaking. Let me think of what else. You know, when Adam and I go to the school, we're really good listeners. We want to hear what the speech pathologist has to say because she knows an awful lot. We want to know what the parents are feeling about the communication, the teacher, because if it's not a team approach, it won't be useful. So we just want it to be very useful.
Joanne,
Yeah.
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. So it goes anywhere from, I actually wrote it down. So the vocabulary, there's 7 touch chat vocabularies with different positions, 10 word power, which is the one that I like them to get to. Because again, it goes with the reading. So it goes 20, anywhere from 20, 24 to 140 locations. So it really fits a lot of people. I want to go, favorite features of the app is the predictability, the fact that it fits right in with the way we produce sentences. So then the individual would be feeling like I am making this sentence, even though I may not have the motor capacity right now with my mouth to say it. They feel it. And the fact that it's quick and I can use just a sample vocabulary set to do an evaluation. The least favorite thing that I can think of is, you know, for eye gaze, there's no eye gaze system, does have Spanish. I like the one thing that there's a history of what has been said when the child moves around a building in the school. Sometimes I'm Proloquo, which is not my favorite, but you can at least see how much the child has used and what they have said for the rest of the day. What I can do though, for my own record keeping, is I can share the message so that I remember what message the child typed. I just share it with my, and I can share it with the parent, with the teacher. They can make a request and realize that, oh, I'm emailing somebody. So you can share it through text or email.
Joanne?
I'm done. Yes.
I was going to say, if we're going to be providing everyone with the panelists' contact information. So
Sure.
after today, if you want to reach out and get more information about Touch Chat from Joanne, we'll be sending out the contact information so you could get more information about that. But so thank you very much, Joanne. That was wonderful. We're going to be moving on to our next panelist, which is Barbara Seltzer. And Barbara is going to be talking about Proloquo to go. So Joanne, if you wouldn't mind muting your microphone, and we'll let Barbara take it away.
Hi, everybody. I'm Barbara Seltzer, and I have a private practice in Bergen County. Mostly, I'm in Bergen County. I'm in Rochelle Park, but I work with kids and adults, mostly in Bergen and Passaic. I also do some work at the Children's Therapy Center in Oakland and Fairlawn. I kind of fill in for them when they need, that's where I am right now, when they need support. And I chair the Najisha AAC committee. If anybody is interested in joining, we're always looking for people interested in AAC. It's a great group. Kathy's with me on that. And I'm here today to talk about Proloquo, and I'm going to try not to have Adam have to give me a warning. I'll try to move through quickly. So Proloquo, I feel like, is the app that most people are familiar with. It was the first, and I think that it actually became the one that people often recommended just because it's all they knew about. So I do want to echo what Kathy and Joanne said and Adam said, that it's really important to do an AAC eval. I always trial several different vocabularies, several different apps or language systems with my clients. And a lot of times they're all very good, and it comes down to client preference. But today I'm going to go through Proloquo and tell you some of the things that I think are good about it, some of the things that I think are challenging about it. And I think it's great to be able to compare all these different apps. So Proloquo to Go is by Assistiveware. It has, I said, it was the first app available, and has changed. It's gone through a lot of evolution, which is one of the things that I like about it. I think that Assistiveware has done a really good job of following the research and making evidence-based changes. I remember when it first started, it was simply categories, and there was no core vocabulary, and it was really difficult to construct sentences, but it has changed over time. In a technical sense, it's very easy to edit. It's very user-friendly in that way. I find it's very easy to teach educational staff or support staff or families how to edit on it. It's easy to change the visual display. You can choose between there's a variety of rows and columns that are available, or you can choose your own display and customize it that way if you want to. It has 3 built-in vocabularies that it starts with. So there's a basic communication, I believe it's called, an intermediate core, and an advanced core, so that you can customize that way. There is availability for Spanish, English, French, and Dutch, I believe, and it's easy to move between languages. That's another plus. There's an easy to use search feature, which is very helpful when you're encouraging families or educational staff to model, to show them. And most of the apps do have this, but it is very easy to use. You can type in a word and find where it is. It has a progressive language feature so that while you're working therapeutically, it is a robust app, and you do want to have as much language as possible available. But if you're focusing on something in a session and you want to mask a little bit, it has a feature where you can progress as the child's language develops in what's visible. Grammar support is available. It's a simple single touch, and then it will open up with a little pressure, and then you can change verb tense or plural, or that's your grammar support. What I really like about it is there's a lot of diversity support. So you can easily change skin tone for your symbols, so that your users have symbols that look like them. They've also, I read recently, made available female superheroes and gender neutral pronouns, so that they really do stay relevant and make changes that are appropriate. I'm just scanning. I had notes on my other computer of everything I wanted to include. I also really like that Assistiveware offers a lot of support. So the website itself has training videos. There's a lot of support that's available for therapists and things as well that you can share with your families, or again, your educational staff, so that people can go there for AAC support in general, as well as technical support. And in addition, I found them to be very responsive when specific issues came up. So I've always contacted them by email, but I always get an email right back. And I've referred parents as well, so that if you have any technical issues, they're very responsive to that. What I don't love about Proloquo is I don't always find it to be the easiest app to navigate for myself. It does have a core vocabulary setup. The core vocabulary does consider motor planning. However, the fringe vocabulary is all folder based, and it's folder based in a way that you may have to navigate through several pages to get to what you want to find. So for instance, adjectives, you go to adjectives, you're looking for your describing words, and then you have to choose between positive, negative, I can't even recall, and I prepared for this, all the different folders. So I find that that's confusing. Same thing with verbs, body verbs, making verbs. So I find that this is kind of, you really have to be able to think categorically. As Kathy said, you don't have to with LAMP. With this, you really need to. And it sometimes requires a lot of navigation, which makes it difficult when you're trying to teach somebody to construct a sentence. So that's something that I don't like about it. It's great for somebody who does think categorically, which sometimes I have some people who really do think in a very, some of our autistic individuals think very logically and very categorically, and their brains are filing things that way. So it works really well for them. But for somebody who needs a more motor planning based approach, it's not going to be appropriate. There
Barbara?
is 1 minute.
Yes.
Okay, I thought I could do it. There's no free version available. However, as a speech language pathologist, you can get a free version as an evaluator. You have to write to Assistive where they do this on a case-by-case basis, but I did not have a problem. I've had my version for quite a while, and it is available from the App Store for $249.99. How'd I do? Not bad. 1 minute.
That was awesome, Barbara. Thank you.
And it's also half price in
Thank you.
October and April. Yep.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay, thank you very much, Barbara. Next up is Corey Ward, and Corey's going to talk about TD Talk. So take it away, Corey.
Hello, thanks for the introduction. My name is Corey Ward. I work as a school-based speech language therapist at a middle school and a high school, and I also do private work at a pediatric developmental facility. I have more experience with two of the previously mentioned apps, Touch Chat and Proloquo, but as Adam said, I will be talking about TD Talk. This app is a speech generating app for literate users with communication disabilities and motor disabilities such as MS, muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, ALS. And it's a very simple app in the sense that it's pretty much text to speech with some quick phrases. So very simple setup, and you're pretty much just typing, and it has some good word prediction, and you can also program quick phrases. So one of the benefits is when it was used on the Tobii device, the students that I've worked with who've used the similar app was just the ability to, switch in and out and really engage with the class material if they were asked to write an essay, and really engage in that kind of group work without having to switch from their device to a computer per se, or have to, work a little more closely with their aide if they had one. So they're really able to switch back and forth with a sense of ease. So with TD Talk, this app actually uses TD Pilot, which makes the newer iPads eye gaze accessible. So that is a benefit there. And not having to use the more larger Tobii devices. So you can use eye gaze as well as direct selection. And in addition, one of the other two things that I think were really cool was the ability to do inline editing while you're constructing your sentence. Say you create a sentence using eye gaze, you can look back at a word that you might have made an error on and edit it right there. TD Talk, sorry, I looked in the chat. Additionally, using the TD Pilot that it comes with, which makes the iPad more accessible, it has a rear-facing partner window. So while they're creating their sentence, they're also going to have the visual written output for their communication partner to also read what they're saying. Yeah, so that's really short and sweet. The app is very, very simple. It's not going to be using too much of folders or things like that, aside from the quick phrases that you make on your own, but it's pretty much just a text-to-speech app. That's all I got.
Okay. All right, Corey, thanks very much. That's great. I appreciate telling us about TD Talk. Great. Next up, and last but not least, is Christine Baudin. And Christine is going to talk about Grid for iPad. Take it away, Christine. Christine, I think your microphone might be muted.
Here we go. Okay.
Okay, we can
Sorry,
hear
I'm
you
glad
now.
you told me that. Otherwise,
No problem. We can hear you now.
okay, great. All right. So, and you can see my screen, right? Because I just shared my screen.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Can see your
So
screen.
I am going to talk about an AAC app. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Christine Bowden. I am a speech language pathologist. My contact information is here on my slide. I've been in the field for over 25 years. I specialize in the field of AAC. I'm also the founder of the Facebook group AAC for the SLP, which if you're not in that group and you're a professional watching this webinar, I hope that you'll join it. We currently have over 38,000 members. So that is, and I have a private practice, Long Island in New York City, where I consult with around 20 school districts and do all AAC. So I've had a lot of experience in the past in different settings. That's how Adam and I actually know each other from when I worked at New York City. I've worked in 3 different AAC evaluation centers over the years and in all different settings. So right now, I want to get right into it. And by the way, I did also do a comparison video for AAC in the cloud in 2018, and all of the apps were discussed except the TD Talk. That one was not. And I also did talk about Speak for Yourself in that video. So if you want more information about a comparison, you can look that up in AAC in the cloud from 2018. It's still very similar to how it is, how the apps are today. But one I did not talk about was Grid for iPad. So I wanted to get into Grid for iPad. It is so different from the other apps because the other apps are more apps for AAC. Grid for iPad is actually a program that has grid sets. So there are many, many different types of grid sets that you can load that have either been designed by Smartbox, which is the parent company, or by others and can be shared and are shared in an online grid sharing center. So there are different symbol sets for Grid for iPad, including widget symbols, PCS, which are the board maker symbols, as well as symbol sticks, which are the symbols that are available on Proloquo to go, as well as Snapcore. So, and Touch Chat, not Snapcore. Snapcore has the PCS. Touch Chat with Word Power has symbol sticks. So that is interesting too. You can also have high contrast PCS symbols, which I'll show you in a moment. So, so the other thing that is an advantage of Grid for iPad is that this is an iPad version. However, it really stemmed from a PC download, a Windows download called Grid 3. So I don't know if anyone is familiar with that, but it's an extremely powerful AAC application, and it's available for many dedicated devices. So when you're talking about alternative access, which I know was one of the questions. Grid 3 has excellent controls for switch scanning, and I also use it for a lot of my students that use eye-gaze devices, dedicated devices, because it's a download again. This particular program, Grid for iPad, does not have switch settings built into the application. So, but it still is very powerful for direct selection. And one of my students who uses an eye gaze device with Grid 3, she is ambulatory. We don't always have the eye gaze device with her. Instead of printing out all the pages, we have an iPad, and her identical pages are available on the iPad. And that's what we bring with us when she's ambulating or she's going outside. So it's a great backup. So let's get into Grid 3. There are a couple of different vocabulary programs. SuperCore 50 is one of the ones that I'm going to be talking about. SuperCore 50 is a category-based program, just like the ones that have been discussed today, with the exception of LampWords for Life. That is a semantic association program. But Grid SuperCore 50 is category based, which means that you're going to have linguistic categories as well as semantic categories. So you're going to have your actions link, which is going to be connect to different verbs. And it's also categories of verbs. I like the way you have the most common ones here, which is a nice plus compared to some of the other programs out there. And then you have extra ones. So it's nicely organized. I like the describing words link. You have most of your describing words are together. So easy and difficult is together. So that's another plus. One of the other things that this particular app does, which I don't necessarily like so much, I think it's a little confusing, is that over here, this is a dynamic row. So it's sort of like a prediction, kind of like how Touch Chat has a prediction, Touch Chat with word power. So when you press I, for example, it starts predicting what it thinks you're going to say, and the WH questions disappear. So I don't necessarily like when apps do that because I think it's confusing for modeling. But and also you might not want to say one of these things and you don't know what happened to the WH questions. But that is something that this particular app has in this particular row. So now these over here. I just went back. These over here are two columns which can change. All of this stays the same. So that is what makes it very different from other AAC applications on the market. So for example, if I want to go to leisure, you'll see this stays the same. So the person can actually learn the words on here. So let's say we want to go to reading. And now this becomes sort of like a topic display. We have different, vocabulary for reading. Person might want to say, I get a book. So that's a nice plus. You can go to phrase list and then they're going to have additional information, additional types of comments for reading. So leisure and daily life is similar. I can't go through all of these obviously because of time, but let's go into topics. That's a category. It's a category page, just like in Touch Chat with word power. You have your word groups, Proloquo to go, you have your things. This is how it is done in this particular category-based program. So you'll have like clothing. I like the way it's organized. Again, it's very clear. If I go back, I just want to show you what I did with vehicles. I changed it so that I could have the symbols pop a little bit more. You can do that. You can have different size symbols on one page. This is a larger symbol than this symbol. So that's another big plus for this device. So the spelling, also the keyboard is very good. You can have different layouts. This is not a QWERTY, you can have a QWERTY. And there are also additional keyboard options such as a phonetic keyboard, which is one of the things that was discussed before for LAMP. This also has it. So for example, G. So those are some of the nice pluses about this particular program. It also comes in a 30 location, and it also comes in another type, which is like a beginning type of more activity based, which I don't really use very often. I usually try to go with the most robust option that there is. Now, I just want to show you one thing. Remember how I showed you in the beginning, there were different grid sets? Well, you can connect them. So for example, I can go into Magic Wand. This is just where I connected it. And I connected a grid set of YouTube videos. So now the student can go into YouTube in particular videos that I chose. Okay. And we can go to different, back to their grid. So you can actually connect, you can connect Disney Plus, you can connect Instagram. It really makes it accessible. So that is a really fascinating feature about this program. This is another grid set that someone else had designed, someone from the company. And like over here, we have a schedule board of getting ready for bed. This can be helpful too.
Put on pajamas.
And then you can check it off. So there are many different things that can be done. And there are many different grid sets that other people have designed that you can connect to your AAC grid set. I just want to show you really quickly that Voco Chat is another AAC. See, that's the thing with Grid for iPad. It's not just one application. You have multiple AAC applications. So Voco Chat is another one, which is designed as a pragmatic branch type of design. So we talked about category based, we talked about semantic association like LAMP, and this is a pragmatic branch design, sort of like Pod, but it's not quite as robust as Pod. Pod is also available for Grid for iPad as an additional purchase. But for example, you would go,
Something is wrong.
something is wrong with my body, and let's say my back. So
Something is wrong with my body back.
okay, so that is an interesting type of additional feature. And currently Smartbox is working on a high contrast, and I happen to have it because I'm using it with a couple of my students. And this is just to show you how you can even choose high contrast images. So for example, we'll do it again.
Something is wrong.
With my body, and check out these images. They're very, very bright, and I love the contrast. So it's great for someone who might have difficulties with visual processing. So that's a big plus too. The other thing is this particular program, Voco Chat, is excellent on grid 3 because it has auditory scanning capability, which is very, very rare. There are very few programs that are designed for auditory scanning. So
you have about 1 minute.
Okay. All right. I'm going to be finishing up. I'm almost done. So the last thing I just want to show you is this is another example of a grid set. It's called the text talker. So this is more, this is not a symbol based, this is a text based device. You can spell different things. You can go into pre-stored messages, and you can also start spelling something. Someone comes in and says something, you can save it and then retrieve it later, and then it will read that. So, I just wanted to, I was, hoping to share with everyone what this program is, what Grid for iPad is, because it really is so amazing, like all the different things that you can do with it. And if you want to know more, there is a 30-day free trial. So you can load this for 30 days for free. Grid for iPad. Grid 3 for the PC has a 2-month free trial. After for Grid for iPad, it's either $9.99 a month or a one-time purchase for $349. They have not participated in the twice yearly sale at this point. And Smartbox is the company who makes this, and they have excellent support. So if you download the free trial, just reach out to Smartbox. They have a chat on their website, and they have been excellent. So I really highly recommend checking this particular AAC application and Grid for iPad out. That's it.
Thank you very much, Christine. Okay, so I know we've gone a little bit over, but I should have known this. Speech therapists are really good talkers, and that's probably a good thing. And we really covered a lot of ground in a short amount of time. So I apologize to those who wanted more information, but I wanted to give just a brief overview of all those apps. We still have a couple of minutes. We've had some really good questions in the chat window. But if someone wants to turn on their microphone and ask our panelists a question using your microphone, now's your chance. So just turn on your mic and go right ahead. Okay, so I'm just going to read some of the questions from the chat then. Let's see. Ken asked if each speaker could quickly say what the most popular layouts are for their apps. I would appreciate it as a key guard designer who wants to have some OOB key guards for people.
Yeah, that's out of the box.
Out of the box.
And I think Kathy did say it, and Christine said it. So Joanne, can you say something about so you talked about touch chat. What are the most popular touch chat layouts? Oh,
Your
microphone's off, Joanne.
There's so many configurations for the different amount of locations. So we have purchased some grids for the 20, but the one that I always seem to start with, if this is the app for the child, it's not always the app I recommend, would be the 20. And then I guess you'd have to get a new grid if we were going to the 30 or the 42. So those are, I think one of my students uses the 42, which he moved up too quickly. So I would probably design for the different vocab sets, and that it all looks the same, except you can change the size of the message window. Boy, you have a rough job designing it. But 20 is how I always start with the young children. For more experienced learners, it might be, I think something went wrong with the 30, so it would be the 40 or the 42.
And Barbara, can you say something as well about your app?
Yeah, so with Proloquo, I can't even really say one that's most commonly used, because the way it's very different in that sense than like with Touch Chat. I know I could say I generally start with word power 42 or 60, depending. And I would say that those are, and I've ordered several key guards, and I've ordered 42s and 60s. With Proloquo, it's very and a lot of my Proloquo users have come to me with Proloquo already, and it's very, you're choosing rows and columns, 4x4, 6x6, and it also can switch to landscape or portrait mode if you switch. It responds to that, turning of the iPad, which most of them don't. So I think that it would be very hard with Proloquo to have it out of the box available. I don't know if everybody from their experience agrees, but that's my experience, the way it's designed.
I think if you were looking for maybe a standard, probably, Barbara, would you agree that maybe 60 would be the one to offer in Proloquo, or 77, I think it is, even better. I know they go higher and they go lower, but if you were to do an out-of-the-box one, I would probably aim for 60 or 77 as a typical.
Great. I mean, I just happen to have an expert in my back pocket, and those were the two she suggested.
There you go.
Okay, great. Oh,
I was
sorry.
just going to say, and the lamp one is 84, clear and simple. It doesn't change. The only thing that would change is whether you have it on an iPad or an iPad Pro. So the size would change, but the configuration remains the exact same.
Right.
Okay, great. Now Shannon had a comment on motor planning. Shannon, do you want to turn on your microphone and ask your question in person?
I think that all of I've supported 48 school districts in the Houston area, and I always kind of get what I get and don't throw a fit when I get the students. So I'll call them Camp Proloquo or Camp Touch Chat or Camp Lamp. But in the big picture, I find that in any one of those systems, the kids are doing well on those different devices. They all have that motor planning component to the systems. And it seems like when you have that Camp Proloquo to go or Camp Word Power, it's like a systemic motor planning for even the paraprofessionals supporting the students, which is something that you want to take into consideration. But I think, look more at the vision when I'm looking at a student, because I want to make sure that in working with that motor plan, I'm getting the smallest and most real estate that they can access from the very beginning, because I can always mask and grow the vocabulary on any of the programs. So just a comment, not really a question.
Okay, I recommend the same thing all the time.
Yeah, I agree with
there
you.
with you.
I agree with you, Shannon. I think it's very important. AssistedWare actually has an article about this. So that's something that I share with others when they start with other grid sets. You should choose a grid set with the smallest symbol an individual can both see and touch. And touch, keep in mind, Ken over here, he's the specialist in 3D printed key guards. Very often a child can use a grid that is much smaller, with many more symbols than you think if they have a key guard. So a key guard really needs to be considered as well if a child has any difficulty with pointing.
Great point. Thank you, Shannon. Veronica had a comment about Touch Chat. Veronica, do you want to elaborate?
Hi, good morning. Yes, I guess my comment was around the option for programming the touch chat features, which I believe you can do online, but you're you're limited to, I think, Windows, or if I'm not mistaken, there's only one computer software you can use to make these edits online. So I think, and it could also be really complicated for parents and caregivers. So I think if there's an option of making that a little bit more user friendly for them, then they can go online and reorganize their, that what the touch chat features are for their child, or editing their vocabs, whatever they have on their actual tablets.
Yeah, that's a great point, Veronica. Thank you for bringing our attention to that. And if anyone that, that developers of Touch Chat, if they're on, with us, take that as a endorsement for, it sounds like making it a little more user friendly and a little more easier to program. We've kind of run out of time. There's just two more things I just wanted to point out. Well, first of all, everyone will be getting an email with all the contact information for our 5 panelists. Our 5 panelists were awesome. Thank you very much. There's just 2 brief things I wanted to include. If you can just bear with me for a minute. And that is, there's an upcoming event on July 12th. It'll be about keyboarding supports for students with needing writing supports. This webinar will be in English and Spanish. So if you know people that are primary Spanish speakers that want information about assistive technology, this will be a good webinar for them in July. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, if I can get rid of this, hide, there we go. There is a survey for today. If you would be so kind as to take 2 minutes and fill out the survey, I'm going to put the link in the chat. If you do fill out the survey and include your email address, you will be eligible for a drawing for a $25 gift card. $25 gift card. So so if you can do that, let's see, I got to get back to my Zoom. Where's my Zoom? Uh-oh, I got myself